I used to do lots of things.
I used to do things and I'd say things and Jesus I was evil. Take things and break things and Jesus I was evil. I never shook, baby.
All right, spooky dookie. Hey, so check out my shirt.
Who's that beautiful bastard? Is that Texas? Is that
Yeah.
Texas Chainsaw?
Yeah, Leatherface. Yeah, it's from
Leatherface.
Universal Studios.
Oh, so you know it's authentic.
Yeah.
Check out my shirt. Ramstein,
Oh,
bitch.
Nice.
I got that. I got that from a hawker outside the stadium.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is definitely so. Word to the wise: if you're ever, at least I can speak for Philly. If you're ever at a concert, either the Link or the Phillies, I forget that one. I don't care because the Mets just beat the Phillies. Go Mets! Buy the shirts from the guys. It's one of the few times I would be like, do the like you think it's gonna be crappier quality. It's really not, and it's like half the price. Like my friend, I bought it. This is from 2022. The guys always come up to you when you're like drinking in the parking lot and they try and sell you stuff. They're selling you t-shirts, and I bought one, and my friend was like, "No, I want to get," and he got in there. It's like basically the same quality, and it was like double the price. He's like, "I should have just got it from that guy selling them to us." So I recommend it.
Nice.
Yeah,
cool, man.
It's Springsteen. Yeah, so today we're doing Haunted House is our subgenre for HorrorFest 2024.
Yeah.
Can I confide something in you?
Sure, Ben.
I don't think I like haunted house movies. I don't.
As a genre, or
yeah,
well, I mean, yeah, I guess that. Yeah, obviously, yeah.
As a genre, like I don't think they're very good. And maybe I'll change my mind in this episode, but sure. I'm thinking about it, and I watched a couple, and I was looking at like top lists of them. So like I've seen a bunch of them already.
Sure.
I don't think there's one on here that really blows me away, where like other subgenres will have like several really great movies.
Yeah.
One I'm going to circle will come to. That's like probably what most people are thinking about when they think of a haunted house movie. Like when you think of like a top 5, this one's usually in everyone's list.
Yes.
We'll get to that. But outside of that, I don't think they're usually that good.
And too often, so haunted house movies are definitely not my favorite genre. There are only a few that I really like. But too often it's like, we'll just move out.
Yes, it's like yeah, but we put down the down payment. It's like you're gonna die. Yeah. Just leave the house.
Yeah.
There's always an excuse. Like, oh, the telephones don't work. We can't leave. We have to stay here for another 45 days or something.
Yeah. And it's like as soon as you guys moved in, your husband tried to kill you. Your children are having visions.
Yeah.
And you're hearing weird sounds in the middle of the night. You should get the fuck out. And it only started as soon as you moved in. So
yeah.
That's a good
and
time.
It's also like what I also love is the like we do their genres, subgenres, and there's like the niche micro genres. Yeah. And that I brought up on this podcast before was like Night Swim, where it's not even a haunted house, it's a haunted pool. It's like just don't go in the pool. I know, and obviously it's not that simple. It's like, oh yeah, but they lure you in and you find yourself in there, whatever. I know, I get it. I'm being facetious, but sure. Like just fucking fill it with cement or something. I don't know. You're gonna die.
Yeah.
That's gonna be like haunted hot tub or something.
Right.
Haunted koi pond.
Exactly.
So yeah, I watched to pregame this episode. I watched a couple of haunted house movies in the past couple of days. One of them was just called House from. There's actually 2 movies called House that when I looked up House, there's one that actually looks kind of cool. It's a Japanese movie. It's a little older.
Yeah, that one came in the late 70s. I have not seen it, but I've seen trailers and clips of it. Yeah. And it looks fucking nuts.
Like, it's supposed to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. So I don't know. Maybe I just haven't seen the right haunted house movies. Maybe I'll be thinking and I'll think of like, oh, actually, that's a great one. But I did just watch like a top 20 haunted house movies from some big horror podcast guy, like movie guy. And and like they had House, a movie I just watched that I didn't like. I think I'm giving like a 49 or something. He had as like his number 18 haunted house movie. So
yeah, that's really fucking generous.
Like it's not a good movie.
One thing I did like, and it's been years since I've seen it, but I did like, if I remember correctly, is there like a military like skeleton ghost thing? That was kind of cool.
His name's actually Ben.
Oh, that's cool.
I think it's like Big Ben or something. Yeah,
I like those scenes, but other than that, it was just like a weird, because it was kind of like it was trying to be scary, but it was also really goofy at the same time. So it's like, are you trying to be silly and not take yourself seriously?
If it was goofier, like here's a movie that does this really well, is Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Yes.
Like that movie does it really well. And if I kind of infamously said maybe 2 years ago when Jim was on the pod saying how this movie looks terrible. Like I hadn't seen it. It was on my list. I watched the trailer and I've been putting it off. So I'm like, this is going to suck.
Yeah.
And you guys, I forget it was you and Jim, and definitely Jim, he was like, no, just watch it. Like, it's good. And I watched it and it's actually very good. The trailer does a huge disservice. But that's a really good movie that can like incorporate goofiness into and like camp into like something that's legit scary. And like I've said at last episode, I'm not afraid of clowns. It's like not one of my fears, but they're really cool and scary in it. So that's how you can do it. House doesn't do that. While I didn't really like I actually thought the whole like Vietnam angle to it was just like one too many angles. So the whole thing is, so basically he's like a horror or I guess like thriller horror novelist. Of course I'm attracted to that stuff.
Sure.
He moves into his, I think, grandmother's house where he's kind of raised. It's this really cool house. It looks like California. It's a really kind of old California house, like Victorian. And he starts seeing, the typical shit, start seeing visions, creepy things start happening. But there's also a goofiness to it it's like not funny. And that's the thing.
It doesn't fit.
And it's not scary enough either.
Yeah. Like tonally, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
It seems like it's trying to be intense, but it doesn't quite do it. It seems like it's trying to be funny, but it doesn't quite do it. So it just operates in this weird middle ground of like, I don't know how I'm supposed to take this. Should I be laughing or screaming? And so it
has the guy from Cheers in it. Is it what's his first name? Went is his last name, but
which guy from Cheers?
He's the guy who's I think he's a postman in it. He always sits in the same spot. I mean, that's like the whole show. And he gets the beer.
Was he in the first one? Because I remember him being in the second one. House 2, the second story.
No, he's in the first one. Yeah, he's the neighbor.
Oh,
I've only seen the first one.
Oh, interesting.
So is George Went? I think that's it. Anyway, he's kind of supposed to be a comedic relief, but he's like not funny. I don't know. He like doesn't have any. He's just kind of like there for silly faces and being like, oh geez, like that kind of guy.
Yeah.
There's some good, because it's in 1986. There's some good practical effects. There's like his wife who's like a like a hot blonde, or a strange wife, I should say, maybe an ex-wife. But then there's like I think they call her I wrote it down, like Stacy Witch or something like that, where it's like she's really gross, deformed, demon-y type thing, and she's pretty good. Like she looks kind of cool. And there's some just like random ghouls that have some good, because it's practical effects. Like right off the bat, it's gonna look better. And I liked that, but as a movie, it's pretty bad because it doesn't do either thing well. It's not scary and it's not funny. And the whole so I was saying he's like a novelist. He stays in the house that was gonna get sold, and he's like, I'm gonna stay here and write a book. And then all the shit starts happening. And he was in Vietnam, and because he's, he's probably in Vietnam in his 20s, so now he's probably in his 40s. And like he's haunted by a soldier, one of his soldiers who haunts him because he didn't kill him. Like the soldier was wounded and then taken by the Viet Cong and tortured, and he like haunts him because. So why don't you go haunt the Vietnam guys?
Yeah, exactly.
Why don't you go haunt the people who tortured you, not the guy who didn't put a bullet in your head, even if that's like what you're supposed to do? I don't know. I think it's a lot to leave on someone. Like, I'm sorry, not everyone wants to like shoot their friend in the head. And that guy haunts him, and I don't know. I just don't think it's very good.
And the Vietnam angle thing, with another draft or two. And if it would like gotten rid of the goofy, campy parts, it probably could have been interesting. It could have been a fascinating character study of like a guy who's still haunted by his experiences in Nam, and now those brutal memories are manifesting, or like the ghosts are like a metaphor for this trauma that he still hasn't dealt with. Like I've seen horror movies do that and do it pretty well, so that could have worked. But it's like it just juggled too many things at the same time, and it never did anything well. But it's funny. So we're thinking of two different guys because George Wendt was in Cheers, but he played the guy with like the sort of curly-ish hair.
Yeah.
And then whereas when I'm thinking of John Ratzenberger, who's always in Pixar movies, he was the mailman. He's in House 2, the second story.
Wow, that is so funny. Wait, so who's George Wendt playing Cheers?
He just plays the guy who's just one of the regular.
He's not a mailman?
No.
Mailman, yeah, he's like a mustache, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm seeing him. That's funny. Okay, I used to love that show. Or
I
used to watch shows
great.
Like that. On like
so House,
night, but,
House 2, the second story. I do not recommend it, but I will say
I'm not gonna watch it.
At the very least, it's goofy all the way through. It's just very campy, very dated 80s comedy. But at least it's like more tonally consistent. So I do remember liking House 2, the second story, better.
Oh, really?
It's just I liked it better because it was just it's just leaning into the campiness now. It's not trying to be serious at all.
True.
I don't think it has any of the original cast. I think it's just a completely different movie that just happens to take place in a haunted house. But so this one was PG-13 if I remember correctly, and I think because Ghostbusters and Beetlejuice is like, hey, let's just make it into like a goofy horror movie. Again, I don't highly recommend it, but it's like it's one of those things. If you see it somewhere for free, it's like okay, it's a fun way to kill an afternoon. But yeah, don't go hunting for it though.
Right.
But I will say John Ratzenberger was funny, and he was the bright spot for me because he just so like the house is just a series of like paranormal experiences plaguing this group of like these two buddies who inherited it, and so it's more slapstick and zany. And so they're having a problem with their plumbing, and they call John Ratzenberger, who I think was a plumber or electrician, and he shows up, and then some supernatural stuff happens, and then he's very nonchalant about it. He goes, don't worry, I've encountered this stuff before. He opens his toolbox, he pulls out a sword, and then it's like this blue collar supernatural, he's like an electrician who's / like blue collar supernatural expert, exterminator. Exactly. So I liked he was perfect for that. Just playing like, don't worry, I've dealt with this before, hold on.
That's good. All right, maybe you're kind of selling me on House 2. And I really did not like House 1. So okay, the best part of this movie is nothing to do with the horror shit, but it's Cobb. I forget the actor's name, but his name's Cobb in it. Last name. He has one of the deepest V-necks as a sweater, and it's a sweater V. Dude, you can just look this up. Like there's like articles written about it. Just this V-neck belongs like the V-neck Hall of Fame is what I'm saying in my review.
Holy shit.
It is, and I'm just look up this V-neck. It rules. I like paused the movie and took a picture of it and then put it on my story.
Yep, I see it. It's a sweater. It's
a sweater V-neck that goes down to like his sternum.
Yeah. And he's got the sleeves rolled up too, so it's like, but it's like that it looks pretty thick. So it's like it looks like he's trying to be warm, but he's like exposing. It's
it rules. It's a great piece of clothing. I love just like weird pieces of clothing from cinema, just like crazy sunglasses and shirts that like they don't say they're like, oh, I love your sweater. It's just like it's there and it's part of the movie. I love that shit.
So this kind of reminds me real quick of the first Evil Dead movie. Bruce Campbell does an amazing audio commentary, and it sucks that we're moving away from DVDs and Blu-rays and and special features and stuff. But Bruce Campbell does an amazing audio commentary for the first Evil Dead movie, and he talked. And there's a scene where his character is walking down into the basement, and there's a close up of his feet, and it's supposed to be kind of suspenseful of like each footstep going deeper and deeper into the basement, and he's wearing these sort of like weird moccasin type things, and he comments in the commentary, he goes, Sam Raimi had this crazy idea that he thought that these sort of moccasin style shoes would be timeless, that it would make the film date better. because nobody, I guess he thought like very few people, like there were enough people wearing them in the 80s that they're kind of prevalent, but it's like, but that's one of the things, that's the type of shoe that's never gonna go out of style. They're all like Chuck like Converse. Like
that's
Chuck
why
Taylor.
I wear Converses.
Yeah,
it's like the only sneaker I wear.
Yeah, exactly. It's like those have been around for what, 50, 60, 70 years.
Yeah.
It's like, there's enough people who like it will always be there. So I guess he thought moccasin style sneakers would.
Nope.
So
a leather jacket is timeless. A jean jacket is timeless.
Yeah.
Converses, I mean, that's just like my style. I actually did that on purpose. Like, I'm just gonna buy stuff that's I'm never not gonna want to wear it because of how it looks. like maybe I'll outgrow it or something. But
Yeah.
All right. Well, so I kind of started this episode saying I don't really like these movies. So it reminds me of that thing because, like monster movies, which we did last week, haunted house movies, it's a broader, it's like there's a lot that can go into that, right? Like the house can haunt using other types of creatures that could be their own subgenre. But I think the most common, obviously, is like ghosts. And haunted house movies do that thing that kind of you have talked about that you really don't like, which is the ghost is there and then the person turns and it's gone. And it's like, well, like why does the house need to like warm up? Like I don't really get that. If it's gonna be ghosts, like I don't think ghosts aren't in like the house's mind. It's not like, well, we have to make a movie out of this, we have to make a story. It's like, no, it's a haunted house. The things would just, if it's trying to send a message or it's trying to scare someone out, like wouldn't it do it right away as hard as possible? And other movies don't, like other movies have kind of you can tell I'm gonna done a lot of card game creation recently, but they have like a balancing effect with that, where like a werewolf movie, the balancing effect might be, well, there needs to be a full moon. Or vampires, it needs to be nighttime. Or you can kill them with silver bullet, or you can keep them away with garlic or whatever. Or zombies, they're there, and if you don't make a noise, they don't find you, whatever it is, right? There's like things to control that. Like if the zombies, people always argue, well, it's not real. It's like, yeah, but there needs to be consistency in the world that I'm in. And most zombie movies do that really well. It's like, I always say, zombies can't be walking around aimlessly and then one of them's reciting Hamlet. Like that wouldn't make sense. It doesn't matter that zombies don't exist. So haunted house movies, it's like, well, why is it happening this way? Like why wouldn't it just be and so I'm gonna use the segue into the next movie I recently watched, haunted house movie, which is The Changeling, which was actually on this guy's video I just watched, like his top 20. This was like number 4 or 5 or something. I didn't love this movie either. It's George C. Scott, who we both love. It's from 1980, I believe. George C. Scott rules. Great actor. But this movie, again, isn't very scary. There's some... It's like the beginning of this movie is... it's so... Have you seen this movie?
Yeah, I brought it up a few times,
Okay.
It's the scene where like the rubber ball...
Yeah, the rubber ball. But in the beginning, where like his family dies from the snow, the truck in the snow, and it's kind of like the most... And yeah, this is 1980, so tropes come from somewhere, but it's like, watch me, Dad, and it's like and they're in the snow, and he's in the telephone booth, and the truck is coming down the road, and there's another car swerving. These people are just get fucking obliterated by this truck, and it's just very typical, and I don't know,
very melodramatic for sure.
Very melodramatic. And then I didn't really get and don't get me wrong, The Changeling's much better than House. I will say that. I still don't know if I can recommend it as a movie. There's some really cool camera work in Changeling. Some really cool shots, like long shots that show the extent of this house. And there's that scene where they're digging in the girl's bedroom because there's I'm going to spoil this movie. It's like 50 years old or whatever, 45 years old. It's like the well in the bottom and there's all this dirt everywhere and shot from, but like, that's cool. But as a haunted house movie, it's like, I don't get his motivations. Like why this it's like this senator who is the kid who was killed, but he was like adopted, and George C. Scott has it out for him. I was like, well, what did he do wrong?
Right.
Like, do you remember what I'm talking about? And I know I'm getting a little off topic here.
Wasn't it like the kid ghost? Wasn't he trying to like reach out for help or something? For like...
Sure. Yes. Right. And usually, right. And that's very typical.
Sure.
But usually the story is understandably the ghost is trying to, if it's a good ghost, like an innocent ghost, let's say, like here, is trying to tell the protagonist something terrible happened to me and this person did it, right? So you have to stop, usually him or her, you have to stop that person, stop this group, whatever it is. But this murder of this child took place 70 years ago, because I think it was 1910 or maybe even 1900, maybe it was 80 years ago.
Yeah.
So everyone has to do with that is dead.
Oh,
And like
forgot
the
about
dad,
that.
the dad is dead.
Yeah.
And so George C. Scott is like, there's a senator. I think they have a show, which is funny because George C. Scott, I think, was a Republican. But it's like, this takes place, by the way, in Seattle, Washington State. So at that time it was actually not, as blue as it is now, but it's like he's a Republican senator and he's a rich guy who inherited this wealth. And George C. Scott's like, you're not the real kid died because the father didn't want like some sickly, like pansy ass kid. So he fucking brutally murders him by holding his feet up in the tub and he drowns to death.
Yeah.
And they have but they say the kid went to Switzerland to get healed, but they just sent back a different kid who's, I swear to God, like that's the plot.
Yeah,
and he's like a teenager, so he's much older. So like, who's gonna know?
Right.
And like now that's the senator was like, he didn't do anything wrong. Like, yeah, he inherited this money, but like he wasn't in on it, or at least nothing made it like he was a kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't get the motivation here. Like, so you see what I'm saying? Like this doesn't like.
It's like the Sixth Sense, where it's like, help me find my killer, sort of thing.
Right. Everyone knows who they know who the killer is right away. It's more of like, well, you didn't earn this fortune. It's like, yeah, neither did like anyone. Like, neither did any of these people inherit anything. Like, so what? Like, I don't really get it. I don't know. And then again, that's just kind of I think a plot hole. Maybe someone else can say it's not. It's also just not a very scary movie.
Right.
And again, this wasn't like the 1950s. This was 1980. Like there's some really scary shit coming out in the 70s, even the late 60s, and this didn't have it.
Right.
Like even the hauntings, the scary, like it wasn't scary.
Right.
And I think that it was a really cool house. George C. Scott rules. The best scene I think is like with the medium who's trying to. She's like, do you remember that? Like this pencil, and she's like just swirling it, but then she'll like write stuff because she's getting it from the kid.
Yeah.
That scene was was like very well done.
Yeah.
But again, it just brings me back to like, I don't know why the ball rolling down, like why the hints, why all of that. It's like, just be like, hey, my dad killed me. Like why not just do it that way?
Right.
And obviously the answer to that is, well, it's not a movie, but okay, but I'm using the logic within the movie. So
yeah.
Anyway.
For me, I know this is everyone's go-to, but The Shining.
Oh, I didn't even think of The Shining because I guess it counts. Haunted Hotel. But yeah, fair enough. Like, yes, that's a great movie.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites, just in general. So I think it's one of the few. It's probably like my favorite haunted house movie, probably. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say on it that no one else has read, but I will say though, bringing up our favorite horror author, Stephen King. So it's funny. He's given conflicting responses.
Didn't he hate it?
Well, that's what I was about to say. Like he's gone back and forth on it. So I remember he tells a funny story about how Stanley Kubrick reached out to him to ask him to adapt it, and so like he called like at 2 a.m. or something, and Stanley and Stephen King's like he's hungover and he wakes up, and then Stanley Kubrick immediately dives in. He goes, "Hey, I've always thought that ghost stories are inherently optimistic." And then Stephen King's like, "Why?" He goes, "Because it means that there is an afterlife." He goes, "Okay, yeah, that's cool, I guess. Sure, why not?" And then he segues into, "Hey, I want to adapt The Shining," and it differs quite a bit from the book. I don't know if you ever read the novel.
Nope.
It's pretty terrific. I love it. Again, except the ending's kind of dumb. But
I think I know it because I've watched those videos like Cinefix, which is a good channel. They call What's the Difference, and they'll compare, like usually it's a novel and a book, but maybe it's a graphic novel and a novel and a movie, or graphic novel movie, whatever it is.
But I love the novel, and so from what I heard, Stephen King hated it when the first time he saw it.
That's what I heard too.
But I remember, and you can even look this up. Do you remember? This is probably like early 2000s, maybe 2010s. Bravo is like the Bravo 100 Scariest Movie Moments.
Maybe. I mean, I've seen a lot of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think Bruce Campbell hosted that, but anyway, or maybe hosted a different one. But that being said, Stephen King was featured in the segment for The Shining, and he said because I remember seeing that movie and just finding it like unbelievably unsettling. So it seems like then he said that it was like he had a more positive response to it, but then like years later, I watched he gave a guest lecture at some college, and somebody brought up, hey, so what do you think about the Shining movie versus your book? And he goes, yeah, I hate that thing because he just completely changed fundamental things about it. So in my book, the spoiler alert, like he catches on fire. He goes like the house burns down, but in the movie it freezes. So he's like right off the bat, like I don't like it. But it's just, he just seems to constantly going back and forth. And I don't know, maybe for the Bravo thing, he seemed like maybe he's like, okay, there are cameras here. I got to be a little more diplomatic about it because everybody loves The Shining.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so The Shining, I guess I didn't think of it because it's like a hotel instead of a house, but they are living there.
Yeah.
But one right away, it's the whole joke we were making about why you just leave. Well, like that actually there is a reason they can't really leave because it's isolated. Yeah, they get snowed in, it's isolated. They're kind of there to serve a function that's
and Jack Nicholson's character destroys the radio equipment so they can't even call for help. So
right, yeah, so that's like legit. It's the hauntings there, like it's just there's a supernatural element to it also where it's not just like typically the hauntees, the people being haunted.
Right.
Hold on, can you give me a sec? I think.
Yeah. I think Ben needs to see if this fart is a regular fart or it's a wet one. So, which makes sense. We don't like too much moisture here on the Reckless Musecast. It's hard to edit out, and I guess it's a wet one. So I guess it's actually a good thing that he got up to do that, to do his business. Well, anyway, I hope that.
All right, we can cut that. My cat was making some noises. I get a hairball, but I can't find it.
Oh, that's right. I was able to
that guy later, huh?
I was able to keep the conversation going. So.
Hold on, I can't hear you right now. If you're talking to me, I don't know if you're talking to me or too. What's that?
Oh, nothing. I said I really missed you, and
I'm sure.
Yeah. So we were talking about the Shining.
Shining rules.
Yeah.
I mean, Kubrick. I'm sure Kubrick could have made any of these movies sweet because he's probably the best ever.
So have you ever watched? There's a documentary about how The Shining is like Stanley Kubrick's admission that he helped fake the moon landings. I think it's just called Room 237 or whatever.
Wasn't it something like the kid's wearing a shirt or something?
He's wearing like an Apollo NASA shirt.
Right.
There's a part in the movie where Jack Nicholson's character freaks out on Shelley Duvall, and he says like, what's that?
A part?
Oh yeah, he does it a bunch of times, but like before he starts chasing her with an axe.
Oh, I see.
But he starts yelling at her, and he's like, I have a responsibility to my employer, and so some people like we're thinking like, oh, like maybe that's Stanley Kubrick saying, hey, like the government hired me to do this thing, I have to keep my mouth shut because that's my obligation. I know so much of it was just a stretch, but it's a fun little watch. It's almost like this.
Do you think the moon landing was faked?
I do not. I generally don't. I see every once in a while, like I'll see some interesting evidence, but it usually gets debunked pretty quickly. So
yeah, with the moon and space, I kind of have a relationship with all that. That's like the opposite of most of my kind of political opinions, where in most stuff I'm like, why are we sending money to this place? Why are we doing this? We should be helping people. We should be, strengthening our infrastructure. We should be making sure we have food reserves and, but all the medicines we need, our defenses, but we shouldn't be like but like with space, it's like, do it.
Yeah.
Spend the money. I just think, I don't know. I just think space is really cool.
I love it's inspiring.
Yeah. It's sweet. I get it. Like I get, there's like that whole song, like, Whitey's on the moon. And it was kind of the same sentiments. Like we have discord in the streets, and there's, racial problems and poor people and all of that. But Whitey's on the moon. That's like the whole song. And I get it. I probably would have felt the same way, but yeah, I think it's sweet. I'm all for being the first into space. Not that we were in the first in space, but the first on the moon and Mars and all that stuff. I'm really into it.
Oh yeah, me too.
I also don't believe, though, to wrap that up, I also don't believe that's like, well, fuck Earth, let's just all go to Mars. Like, no, I think we should also preserve Earth.
Yeah.
This is a great planet. Really nailed it with location on this one, and we should not give up on it.
It's where all my stuff is too.
Yeah, so. I know. Moving sucks. I don't want to do that. I just think, fuck it, I'll stay. I'll sign another lease on Earth.
Yeah. But the documentary, it's a fun little watch, but like there are just too many scenes where it's like, yeah, you're looking way too deeply into that. Yeah. So have you ever seen? I don't even know if the company's still around. They've been around for a long time though. It's this cocoa company. They make cocoa, and the little can that comes in has like a Native American on the side of it.
Cocoa, okay.
It's cocoa. Well, I'm just cocoa powder.
Cocoa powder. Okay.
But there's a brand that has like this Native American.
Still?
I don't know if they're still around. Probably not. I remember my mom having some when I was a kid. But anyway, it was this brand that had been around for a long time. And so there's a scene where Jack Nicholson, I think, or some of the characters, they're in the kitchen, and then there's like the Native American. You see it like a little bit of product placement. It's on a shelf, and then it cuts away, and it cuts back, and then now it's been turned around, and then they just did a whole. It's like how that's meaningful of this and this and that, and how it's like, yeah, dude, it's probably just a continuity error. I don't think that
it is one of the problem. It is. Look, as someone who loves a good conspiracy as much as the next guy, but when you have confirmation bias, it's like when you already believe that, like, you'll just find anything and have some tangential connection to it, and then you'll take that as fact. And it's really when you start to go down, the turning the frogs gay, which was true.
It was at least partially true. It was like more corporate malfeasance, right? They were dumping something into a river.
The way he said it, they weren't turning the frogs gay. It was like changing the genders of the frog, which is not the same thing. And it's
right.
But it's such a good line.
I know.
I can turn the frogs gay. It's like what was true is that they were messing with wildlife in a way that changed the gender of
a certain species of
it's so just fluent in Alex Jones.
Yeah,
that's what he was trying to say.
Yeah, and it was more corporate malfeasance rather than like, oh, the government is trying to make everyone gay. It's like, no, hold on, let's try to
get them to spill. I don't know, but
it is fun. I love stuff like that. Quick tangent, because is the comedian Theo Von.
this whole podcast are quick tangents.
I know.
The quick tangent podcast. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Theo Von was on Joe Rogan, and he was and like he started telling the story. He goes, "Yeah, man, did you hear about like bees, man? Like how they're ejaculating and then they're blowing up because the heat." And then Joe was, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And he's got Jamie. He goes, "Jamie, what are you talking about?" And then he pulls up an article, and then he reads like the headline, and it's like very scientific, like very straightforward thing. It's like, because of rising temperatures, multiple bees are ejaculating and then evaporating. It's like, oh, this is actually true for some reason. But the way Theo Von, hey, did you hear about them bees, man?
Because it's also Theo Von saying it.
Yeah, they're ejaculating and then they're blowing up. It's like, what are you talking about? It's like, oh, this is actually happening. He goes, see, I told you.
Yeah, dude, bees are super important to the environment too. I don't mean to be like Mr. Environmentalist on this episode, but we have to protect the bees. They're super fucking important.
Yeah.
Anyway, Beetlejuice.
You got to deal with haunted houses first, though.
Yeah. So they had Beetlejuice on this. He had Beetlejuice on this list, which I never really thought of a haunted house movie, but I guess it is.
It is. Yeah, they're ghosts and they're haunting a family in a house and they're trapped there.
Yeah, and you're right. It is. I just thought of more of like, I guess it's because of Beetlejuice, who doesn't he can leave the house. He's just like a demon.
But like the couple, the Gina Davis and Bolton, like they're ghosts. But I love that movie. But
so do I. Beetlejuice is great.
Yeah, I haven't seen
really think of it. I haven't either. It's on my list. I'm sure it's going to be a nostalgia grab, and it's going to be callbacks, and it's going to give you some what you want, and it's going to be very okay, and it works because I have it on my list.
That's what I've heard from pretty much everyone. So,
and I'm okay with that. I wish I don't know. It's like I joke, like I was pissed off about the last Scream movie, and I'm like, yeah, but I'll see it the next one. Like I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
Same with like Ghostbusters. Like the last one sucked, but it's Ghostbusters, man.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna watch it unless it's the all female one. I didn't watch that.
Yeah.
But that was an abortion, so to speak.
Yeah.
Amityville Horror.
Oh yeah.
This is probably one of the most classic haunted house movies.
Oh, yeah.
Stories. Also, if you're like me, what's really fun about Amityville Horror is like the story behind the story.
Yeah.
Which is or even like the true crime behind the story behind the story.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's convenient. It's really not. There was a legit murder in the house, a brutal murder of a familicide. Is that it? Like where a kid kind of, I think it was like a teenager.
I think it's teenager. Yeah.
I think he was a teenager. I don't know if he was 18 or 19, but he was shot his whole family.
Yeah.
But then I don't know if he killed himself. I can't remember that.
No, he didn't. Because another haunted house movie series ended up doing that. So I'll explain. So The Conjuring is partially based on
the Warrens.
The Warrens, yeah. And so I think it was the third movie in that installment, like The Devil Made Me Do It. So they actually covered that case.
Oh, dude, fuck, that movie sucked.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
I saw that. That was, to me, that was a big bait and switch movie.
Yeah,
which worked on me because I saw, because it was a legal, it was advertised as like a legal drama with the devil.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm in. This is gonna rule. They actually used possession, I believe, as a legal defense.
Yeah.
And it's really not what the movie's about. And I was really mad about it. It's not that there aren't court scenes, but it was like not even close.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that pissed me off. But yeah, I guess are the Conjuring haunted house movies?
Yeah, well, the first two definitely are. Yeah.
You know, I haven't seen a lot of those. The Warrens are also last podcast on the left did a good series on them. I think there might be some fucked up stuff there though. I think he may have been a pedophile.
Oh shit. I was gonna say, like, I thought they were just kind of charlatans.
They are, and he was a pedophile.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding. I think that's fact.
Oh shit! I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, and he was really like a shitty guy too. Besides just the charlatan part. Amityville Horror though is really cool because there was this legit brutal, horrible murder in Amityville, New York, which is on Long Island. And then the people moved in after. It was a whole scheme. It was like they're lawyers. It's like they bought the house, so they knew about the crime that happened there. And a lawyer and them, you know, lawyers always doing the Lord's work, like cooked up this scheme to say that they were being haunted and made a book about it, which then turned into the movie, which then turned into a remake. The movie, I think, came out in the 70s, 80s. I can't remember the first one.
The first one came out in the late 70s.
Josh Brolin,
the whole series,
right?
James Brolin, his dad.
Oh, his dad. That's right. James. Yeah, Josh Brolin would be. Yeah, he was in Goonies. That he was like young there. Yeah, James Brolin. So, and I've seen the original. It's pretty good. I think the movie's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid one. Like with blood coming out of the walls and stuff. There's some cool scenes in that one.
Yeah, there's some cool scenes, and I thought the priest. That I always thought that was a cool scene.
Yep.
But yeah, that one was pretty good. The lore there is sweet because there's like real true crime, but also this horror element to it.
Yep.
I guess real true crime is a redundant, but I would definitely watch the original. Like if you're a horror fan and you haven't seen it yet, just because it's so. To me, it's like a staple of the genre. Like Amityville Horror, when I think haunted house movies, that is one of the best. Oh, dude, you was thinking of what's a nasty scene in the remake. Have you seen the remake with Ryan Reynolds?
No, I haven't seen that one.
Oh, dude, there's this gross scene. So one of the I'm about to. So nice. There's like a girl in the closet, right? One of the murder victims.
Yeah.
And she got unfortunately shot in the head. So there's like a bullet hole right in her forehead.
Yeah.
And she like takes like someone's finger, like a live person, and like sticks it in her bullet hole. And I'm like, oh, that's so gnarly.
Yeah.
I remember that scene. That's really gross. I think it's
Yeah.
like a babysitter or something.
Oh man.
Yeah, really nasty.
The first one's good, and then I remember seeing one or two of the sequels, and they were not very good. They got schlockier, and
I don't think I saw the sequels. That is just such a money grab. And I was just saying how I do watch the sequels, but not something like that, because that really is a contained thing. Of course, Amityville Horror. By the way, I'm going to spoil it. At least I can't remember the first one if they even did this, but in the second one, like most things in American horror, at least, what is it? Say it with me, everyone. It's because of the Native Americans.
Yeah.
It's like always there's like some torture that, it's built, that part of the country is fairly old.
Yeah.
So they're obviously the natives were there, but like for the settlers, they were there, and there's some guy who was torturing Indians in his basement. I don't know if it was a basement at the time, but what's cool is, apparently in New Jersey, we have a place called Long Beach Island. And it's like a really, really thin strip. It's a really thin island, barrier island, that a lot of people go to for vacation. I've only been a couple times because I live right near other places. But apparently that was a place where like the natives would send their kind of undesirables and infirm and like people to get like go die out there. We'll stay here on the mainland and you go die out there. At least that's what I'd heard. Maybe that's just urban legend, but maybe there's some cool hauntings out there on Long Island, in Surf City, or Love Ladies, or Barnegat Light. I'm just naming towns on Long Island, or Long Beach Island. Amityville Horror. That's definitely. I assume people have seen Beetlejuice. If not, but it's also like a comedy. Really fun though. Amityville Horror is classic.
Yeah. That's a great one. Mine is Poltergeist.
That was what I was hinting at first. That might be the most well-known.
Yeah, and it's funny because that movie was produced and co-written by Steven Spielberg, and it was meant to be kind of like a sibling film to E.T., which came out around the same summer. I swear, like 1982 was just like the year of Spielberg. Like he had two massive hit movies, E.T. and Poltergeist. Wow. So Tobe Hooper actually is credited with directing directing Poltergeist, who also directed Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1 and 2, which is fascinating. So here's the thing: do you know about the controversy around that movie and like who actually directed the movie? Do you know about that?
Nope.
So there are a lot of conflicting reports that. So the reason why Spielberg did not direct it, he wanted to, was because it was made by a different studio, so he was still contractually obligated to direct only with Universal Studios, whereas I think Poltergeist was released by MGM, I think. But here's the thing: so he was on. There are reports that he was on the scene. He was there almost all the time, so he was almost like a backseat director. And some people even said that Tobe Hooper was that he was like an alcoholic and drug addict, and he was flaky, and he was just not doing a very good job. So Spielberg actually apparently directed most of that movie.
Wow.
But then other people said, no, like, Spielberg was there. He was there a lot and he gave some tips, but Tobe Hooper actually directed. He's the one who worked with us. Some people said are kind of in the middle, where it's like, yeah, Tobe Hooper was the one actually directing, but he almost in between, takes, he would go to Spielberg and ask him for advice. So it's almost, there's a lot of controversy around it. And so here's that rumors about who actually directed the movie go all the way back to when the movie came out. So there's actually a letter that Spielberg sent to Tobe Hooper saying, "I'm sorry to hear that that people are accusing you of not being the real director of the film. I'm sorry that happened. I want to make it very clear that you are the director. I helped, but you were the one, and so I'm proud of you, and I'm proud of the great work of the film and how big of a hit it is, and I hope we work together sometime." And that letter was printed, I think, by like Newsweek or Time or some shit. But it's also, some people speculate like, oh, like, is that Spielberg just trying to like do damage control and just kind of like
doth the lady protest too much?
Yeah, exactly. So it is interesting, and it is interesting that Spielberg went on to produce the sequels, but he did not have Tobe Hooper direct them. So
interesting.
Even though the first one was a huge hit. So
I haven't seen Poltergeist in a very, very long time.
It's so good. Like, there are so many great special effects. It's like that was Industrial Light and Magic, which is George Lucas's visual effects company. They did the effects for that one, and they got an Oscar nomination. They lost to themselves because the same company also did E.T., which won the Oscar for best visual effects. But there's so many great like visual effects, like miniatures, and just so many cool tricks that they invented even for that movie.
Yeah.
Do you remember that in the end when the house implodes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do remember that. Classic.
It's crazy how they did it. So they had a big miniature, super detailed, like the garage even had like little bikes, like bicycles and like lawnmowers, just to make this is average American garage. And they tilted the house like on its back, and they had a camera above it. And so they had a bunch of cables inside with a huge vacuum cleaner. And so then the metal cables were connected to like a tractor or something, or a truck. So when like they would have, they started the vacuum, and then they start pulling the metal cables, hoping that the vacuum would be like strong enough to pull all of it into this one little hole. And then they would just like, double expose that onto the main film. But in case that didn't work, they also had 2 shotguns, just like, okay, we're gonna like blow it up. If the cable snap, we'll just blow it up, and hopefully the vacuum will just suck all the pieces in. And they had it shot like at a high speed, so it looks like it's all in slow motion. Luckily, they did not need to use the shotguns, but it was like, this is a $40,000 thing. We only have one shot at this. So
that's really cool. I love that shit, dude. That shotgun reminds me of Scanners.
Oh yeah, the head explosion.
Yeah, that was with a shotgun.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Classic. I don't think they could pull that off today.
Nah.
Especially got the shot.
Yes, they got boom.
Yes, I've had Baldwin do it. Poltergeist. I have to rewatch that. It's been so long. It is classic. And again, what's the ending? Say it with me.
Oh, Native
American burial ground. That's like the original. That's like the OG. I might not be the first, but that's like the most notable. That's where like the trope comes from.
Yeah.
In my head, like that's what I think. If someone's like Native American burial ground, where's that come from? I'm gonna say Poltergeist.
Yeah. So yeah, what's your next one?
Well, the other one I want to talk about that maybe I need to rewatch this movie. People seem to love it. It's on lots of lists, whether it's just horror or indie horror or this. I don't remember this movie being Haunted House, but it was Lake Mungo. Have you seen this movie? It's Australian.
It's called Lake Mungo?
Yeah, Lake Mungo.
No, I haven't even heard of that one.
It's an Australian movie. It's like, I think it's pretty low budget. I'm sure it's like, I watched, I think I gave it like a 74 or something. Let me see. 72. I watched it back in like 2020. It's from 2008. It's like, I really don't know why people love this movie so much. Maybe I was too hard on it, but it's like a missing, it's a missing girl. It's a psychological horror. And like a lot of it is on, elements of found footage, docufiction. I think I remember they're like trying, like a brother maybe is trying to find his sister. I don't know if that's right, but if anyone has seen this movie, what was the budget? It had a budget of 1.7 million, so it wasn't like a micro.
Right.
In 2008, it wasn't like a micro thing that blew up. But I don't know. People love this movie. Let me, because I'm not doing it justice right now. So let me read. I was like, it's a 96 on Rotten Tomatoes. So Variety, Russell Edwards called it an ambitious, restrained, and well-mounted mockumentary and praised its musical score, but critiqued its dim lighting and lack of scripted dialogue. All right. Superbly constructed. This is from Urban Cinephile. Superbly constructed and executed film gets everything right to the smallest details. It draws us into the imagined scenario. All right, so that's very positive. Megan Lehman of The Hollywood Reporter noted the film's compelling slow build, surreal atmospherics, and restrained soundtrack that works on a primal level and cleaves close to reality. She also praised its fusion of supernatural elements with substantive themes on family and loss, including that this ambitious exploration of death and its aftershocks will reward more discerning genre fans. It was on a list of 10 underrated horror films to watch on Amazon Prime during COVID. Yeah, so I think maybe a lot of people were like finding it during COVID. I might have watched it during then. Oh, wait, here, hold on. This might connect some things. Eventually turn to the film industry. So someone who was a producer can't find it. But basically, someone connected this, became a producer and script editor on Late Night with the Devil, which I just watched, was excellent. I don't know. I guess I don't remember enough details of it, but I remember it not like blowing me away or anything. It being like, okay, like it's pretty good.
Yeah.
But I don't remember it at all being a haunted house movie. I thought it was like, I think one of the big scenes is like out in the bush, like in Australian. It takes place like out in the country, whatever you call that. What's that part of Australia called?
Outback.
Outback, yeah, like out in the outback.
I once knew a guy from Australia, and he drove an Outback. So, and I'm dead serious. Like,
yeah,
but yeah.
Wait, so, what's an Outback? What kind of car is that? Subaru.
Yeah.
Was he a lesbian?
No, he had a wife, and he was a he. So, getting back to the like, was it built on Aboriginal?
I don't know. Maybe. I bet. I don't remember. I'm looking at top haunted house movie. A ghost story. That's a good movie. I don't remember that. Like, it technically, I guess, is haunted. It's I wouldn't necessarily say it's haunted. It's a ghost. It's very interesting. Have you seen a ghost story?
No, I haven't. I know it's based on a book though.
Oh, really? It's cool.
Yeah.
It's good. It's really scary though. It's not the point.
Yeah. So real quick, The Simpsons did an amazing parody of The Shining, and it was called The Shinning because they didn't want to get sued, and they even make a joke about it in the show. But there's a part where so the Simpson family, they're playing like the Torrance family, and Mr. Burns is showing them around this huge old hotel, and they have this quote from him where he's explaining the history of the hotel. He goes, "This house has quite a long and colorful history. It was built on an ancient Indian burial ground and was the setting of satanic rituals, witch burnings, and 5 John Denver Christmas specials." And then Homer goes, "John Denver." So
that's good.
My turn to talk about ghost haunted house movies I do not like. This one came out in 2020, a mainstream one called The Night House. You seen that one with Rebecca Hall, I think is her name?
I don't think so. The Night House?
Yeah, and this is one where it got really good reviews. I think it's got certainly over 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, if not over 90%. But like the concept is kind of cool. So it's this woman, she's a teacher, and she lives in a nice house that her husband, I believe, designed. He was an architect. And he had just committed suicide, so she's like grieving, and she starts experiencing some bizarre supernatural things in the house, and then she stumbles upon so that this really nice house. It's on a lake. It's a lake house, and then right across the lake, there's an identical house, but it's like a mirror image of it, and it's not fully furnished, but it's like structured exactly the same, just like everything's just kind of reversed.
Okay.
And she starts going through her husband's belongings, and she finds like photographs of women who look just like her. And discovers that these women had gone missing, and so there's so it's a really cool concept. It just gets kind of cheesy, and like the explanation is dumb. It's just like she thinks that her husband was a murderer and was killing women who looked just like her, and then she stumbles upon the corpses of these women in that mirror house across the lake. But it turns out that it was actually some like entity that had possessed him, and the reason why he did that was so he built a house that was the exact opposite of the house that they live in to try and trick it, and he was killing women who looked just like it to try and trick the entity because it wanted to go after his wife. And then he killed himself, I guess, to like free himself from the influence of the thing, or something. And it just gets confusing and kind of dumb. But there are a few cool scenes. But
I'm looking at now. I know Rebecca Hall.
Yeah.
But no, I've not seen this.
Yeah, there are a couple of cool scenes though. Again, they don't really make any sense logically. Like they make like sort of like Hollywood ghost sense.
Right.
Or ghost logic. But there's a shot. So have you seen like those optical illusions where it's like, like cut out of something, but like it's like, oh, is it two people who are about to kiss, or is it a vase?
Sure. Yeah.
That sort of thing. So there are some scenes like that where they do with some pretty cool special effects where it looks like It's like crown molding on like some very intricate crown molding on like what do you call like a load bearing thing in the middle of a pillar type thing, right?
Yeah.
And so it had like this very intricate thing, and so from the side, you just see like a weird design, but then and then it turns, and so like it ends up being like the face of somebody, but then so it's like they actually do a little of that with visual effects in a pretty cool, clever way, where it's like that's just a regular thing. Oh my god, it moved. Even though it's just like the outline of something, it's kind of hard to explain. But like there's some cool shots like that, even though they don't make any fucking sense. I don't know why you as a ghost would pretend to be the outline of crown molding.
God, you must be bored as shit. It's just like
exactly. But I mean, some clever effects, but and a few creepy scenes. But it's just a confusing, convoluted ghost movie. Had a cool concept, but just kind of squandered, and less about the horror of it. The exposition is just really bad. Most exposition in most movies and TV shows is really bad, but there's a scene early in the movie. So Rebecca Hall's character, she is a teacher, and so she's really depressed. And so one day after school, she's doing grades, the final grades for the year, and then a mom, one of her kids' moms comes in and goes, "Hi, so Billy, his final grade is a C-, and so I want to know why." And she goes, "Oh, let me look it up." She goes, "Oh, well, it's because he didn't complete his final assignment." She goes, "Yeah, he was absent. So can he have more time?" And then she's like, "Well, he should have told me in advance that, he was going to be absent, or else I would have given him time." She goes, "Yeah, I know, but it was last minute." And she goes, "I'm just going to give him a solid B. How about that?" And the mom's like, "Well, no, I just want extra time." And then she just goes, "Look, lady, my husband just died. He killed himself, and he never once showed any signs of suicidal tendencies or depression. So he just shot himself last week, and I just got back from his funeral. So yeah, I'm not in the mood for this." And it's like she just kind of spills all of this, and it's meant to be kind of comical, but it's like, no, you're just finding a cheeky way to give a bunch of backstory. And so it's like
wait, that's definitely not, is that supposed to be comical?
No, it's meant to be like one of the few sort of like moments of levity in the film, but it's just like, no, you're just trying to look for a way to give us a bunch of backstory.
Gotcha.
And do it in a funny way, and it's like, that's just fucking lazy. So yeah, I don't recommend that one.
I think overall, like, Haunted House is definitely not one of my favorites. Poltergeist is really good.
Yep.
Haven't seen it forever. Amityville Horror is fun.
Yep.
Like Conjuring, I think the first Conjuring is really good. I can't remember. I know like the famous shots. There's like that one jump scare that's known for being like one of the best jump scares.
With like the sheet, she's hanging sheets outside, and then
no, it's the one. It's like a table, and some like one of the people seeing. Is it the devil? It is the devil, right?
I think you're thinking of Insidious. There's like that sort of Darth Maul looking guy.
Yeah,
he goes up behind.
Oh, that's not The Conjuring?
No, that's Insidious. Same director, though.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking of. Okay, so it's not even The Conjuring.
Nah.
Okay, you're right. It is Insidious.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So
which is kind of a ghost horror movie.
Isn't that a haunted house movie?
It kind of is, yeah. But it's funny. So they actually move. So they move out of the house, and then it turns out that the thing is haunting that kid.
Yeah,
so
that's actually a good plot device, though.
Yeah,
like that's kind of cool.
Yeah, but you can tell that the writers were like, "How can we find a way to get out of this?" Oh, it's not haunting the house; it's haunting the kid. So
yeah, but I appreciate that, because it's like, wait, they moved. There's still an hour and 15 minutes left. What do they do?
Yeah. So I do admire the fact that they managed to find a way.
Wait, Insidious is not. Is it the Warrens?
No, but there is a medium scene in that one.
Am I getting Patrick Wilson confused with someone else?
Patrick Wilson was in both movies. He's in both series.
Oh, that's what I'm getting confused about. Patrick Wilson's in both movies.
Yeah.
Oh, so Insidious is not connected to The Conjuring, right?
No.
Okay.
Same director though. A lot of same creative.
That's
team.
why. It's James. Is it James Wan? It's James Wan. Yeah, that's why. Okay.
Patrick Wilson is his go-to guy, so he shows up in a bunch of his movies. He even showed up in the Aquaman movies that James Wan directed. So
Did
that's
Patrick
just
Wilson
like his.
Die.
He gets possessed at the end, but
I mean in real life. Like,
Patrick I don't think so.
Die?
I don't think so.
Why did I think? I'm getting all turned around right now.
Yeah.
What actor died recently who like wasn't very, very old?
I don't know.
No. God, all these white men just get confused between all of them. I'm serious though. I hate that when like you have to walk on eggshells, so you confuse like two black. Like I confuse white actors all the time.
Yeah,
like all the time. I'm confusing white actors. I'm confusing black actors, Asian. Like just you see, I watch a lot of movies. A lot of people look alike because they're all good looking. Like everyone remembers. Like no offense, everyone knows Danny DeVito because he's very unique looking.
Yeah,
like but like Patrick Wilson and the guy from Jurassic World, Parks and Rec. I know they don't look
Chris Pratt.
Yeah. Like I'm not going to confuse them, but like people, it's easy to confuse these guys.
Yeah.
Like they're not even in the same age group, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So James Wan, Patrick Wilson, that really confused. James Wan's solid, dude.
He's all right. Yeah, he's some good stuff.
He did Saw, right?
Yeah, did the first one, and then I think he produced a few others afterwards.
Yeah, the first one's all for most sequels for stuff like they're not. I don't really care.
Yeah.
No. I get it. I get the money part of it. Like you kind of invest a lot in the first to get that return. I get it. Some I'm gonna watch, but Saw 1 was awesome. Saw 2 I thought was like pretty good. I think after that it kind of fell off the deep end.
Yeah, it just gets to a point where it's like that main Jigsaw dude, John Kramer or whatever. Like he dies at some point, like in part 3 or 4 or something like that. But then like he keeps showing up, but it's like, oh, they're all flashbacks. So it's like his traps are still alive and they're still killing, and we're still going to reveal even more of his backstory. So just like,
dude. Yeah, and then the girl. I remember that was the big reveal in Saw 2. It's like the girl from 1 is actually like working for him.
Yeah.
Because he actually did help her, I think, get off drugs. Yeah. I remember correctly. The one who had like the crazy bear trap on her face or whatever that was.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, Insidious. I was fucking off by.
Yeah.
I just got those very confused. But yeah, so Insidious is a solid movie. So yeah, I don't even know if I've seen The Conjurings. Maybe. I've definitely seen The Devil Made Me Do It. I know that. Yeah. I don't remember if I've seen the first 2.
Yeah, I've seen all 3 of them, I think. And the first one's, it's decent. I remember it's been a long time since I've seen it. I remember when it came out, though, thinking that it was a very well-made mainstream horror movie. It does not do anything unique or original. It does nothing to like further the horror genre, but I remember it's being pretty well made. Like it's like, okay, like it's intense and it doesn't, it's never boring. And the characters are enjoyable enough for me to like not want them to die. Right. So I just remember thinking like, yeah, it was a very satisfying mainstream horror movie. It doesn't do anything original, but it's fun. And then I remember the second one not being as good, and then the third one was garbage. So yeah.
All right. Anything else on haunted houses?
Yeah. One last one that I don't like: The Woman in Black. The Woman in Black.
Oh,
the Harry Potter one. I heard that the original
Harry Potter one.
Well, because that was supposed to be like his like final like, hey, I'm not doing that kid anymore. Like I'm doing like actual movies now.
Right.
I think that was like one of his first movies away from the franchise after the franchise. And it was also produced by Hammer Pictures, which had been known for doing a lot of gothic British horror films. So and it was a garbage movie. I thought it was like the production values were great. I thought like the set design and the cinematography was pretty great. But it suffers so fucking much from that stupid ghost logic of like, I'm going to appear behind you, but when you turn around, I'm going to disappear. I'm going to be invisible when you are in my line of sight, when I am in your line of sight, but when your back's turned, I'll appear. Or when I do appear in front of you, I'm going to scream out of the shadows for no reason. And I remember one shot early in the movie, one scene, like I generally hate jump scares, but this one overdid it. It was
really?
Yeah, it was one scene. It takes place during the day, but it's still kind of creepy. Harry Potter moves into the creepy old house, and he is going through some things, and I think like some crows burst out of like an old wooden cupboard. So it's like, oh, this stupid cheap jump scare, right? And then he goes around doing some other stuff in the room, and then like another crow bursts out of a window or something, and it's like the same fucking crow. It's just like like I don't know if it was the writer's fault, like were the writers like hey, nothing's going on, let's or was it a producer saying, hey, there aren't enough scares, can we reshoot this with a couple of, I don't know, maybe have a cat jump out or a bird jump out. But yeah, there were just so many stupid, obnoxious, unnecessary jump scares, and the logic of the ghosts, of the one ghost, did not make any sense. So yeah, it was a garbage movie.
If I saw that, I do. Yeah, I'm looking at Daniel Radcliffe's filmography, who I've met a couple times. Really nice guy, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, great dude. But yeah, you're right. Woman in Black was like his first movie after. Well, actually, he did a movie called December Boys in 2007, but that was like while doing Harry Potter. Yeah, dude, it's crazy. He did one movie the same year he did the first Harry Potter, and then he like his second movie was Harry Potter. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And then he did Woman in Black was after Deathly Hallows Part 2.
So yeah.
Oh, he's in Now You See Me 3. Interesting. All right. Yeah, haunted house movies as a whole, not my favorite. Like, there has to probably be something for like Exorcist movies, even when they're like the better. Like, I'm gonna watch that new Russell Crowe Exorcist. Dude, did you like back-to-back Exorcist movies? Because he did one last year.
Oh, he did?
He's in I think we talked about it. He was playing a real exorcist, a guy named Father Amorth from Italy. I actually have his book on my reading list. I want to get to. It's like an exorcist tells his story, and he's like a real guy.
Interesting.
It was an okay movie. It was kind of fun. But now he's playing he's in another exorcism movie, but I don't think it's the same character. I have to check, but he's definitely in a new one. So like exorcism movies, zombie movies, a lot of stuff I'm gonna watch. A lot of slashers I'm just gonna like watch. But haunted house, like there's to be a bigger draw for me. It's like, oh, okay, well, it's a haunted house in New Orleans. All right, that's kind of cool. Or Japan, or there's an actor I like in it, or something like that. As a subgenre, it's really not one of my favorites.
Yeah, but there were a few gems out there. So
there are definitely a few gems, of course.
But yeah, okay. So that wraps it up, I think.
Yeah, next we're gonna do what, analog horror?
Yeah, let's do analog horror. Yeah.
All right.
And the cool thing about that one is that it's all on YouTube, so people can check it out.
And they're short, right? They're like much shorter. A lot of
a bunch of smaller installments. So yeah.
All right, cool. That'll be fun. All right.
Yeah. All right, everybody, stay spooky and
stay reckless. Fight the crits.
Yeah, and the ghosts.